Well, good evening, everybody. And thank you so much to Dattamj and 3T Hub for organizing such a wonderful educators conclave, which was indeed needed in Belgavi. Thank you, Chetna, for this, because this keeps happening in Bangalore or in bigger cities all the time, and educators get exposed. But happening in Belgaum, thank you so much for taking all the efforts. Well, as he just said, that this amazing topic that we have, Industry Academia Challenge, we don't know what we don't know. I, being a student of the Upanishads, feel that a person who doesn't know what he doesn't know is taking the first step towards enlightenment. So, without much ado, let me introduce the panelists of today and welcome them on stage. We have first with us Mr. Anand Kadkor. He's the author of the book, I, Krishna, which is a history-based story on the life of Krishna. Welcome, sir. He's also an investor and a cap table participant in startups like, he is a certified organic farmer toiling in 15 acres of pristine farm. That's lovely. He's also an investor in Celium Devices, UAPay, TechFin, Marksman Digital, Sourceways, Vidyasarthi, and SingX, some of the companies. Anand Kadkor is an industry veteran with 27 years of experience in various industries, and he joined the fintech space and moved to Southeast Asia to take charge of markets, build team, and products. He was one of the earliest pioneers to connect to a blockchain platform, experiment, and take the product to commercial launch for cross-border payments. I think even before blockchain became known to others. He also played a pivotal role and came back to India to a two-tier city with a specific intent to work with startups in the tier 2 incubation centers as an investor. He has great plans of delving into organic farming, which he has done. He owns an organic farm which produces choice crops. And he's a writer of non-fiction-based book on Krishna's life in self-narrative style. Welcome to this panel, sir. I'm looking forward to great insights from you. The second panelist today is Dr. Rajaram Kudli. He's an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur with 30+ years of experience in analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning solutions in research and development. He's also into competency building, teaching, research and consultancy, and many more. We have interacted earlier and I found your insights really thought-provoking. So welcome to this panel. The third panelist is our very own Belgamite, one of the great thinkers of today, Mr. Raj Bergaonkar, a management consultant. So please join us on this panel. He has global exposure that spans 15 years of professional experience in risk management in the US, followed by 15+ years of business and advisory experience in India. He holds an MBA in finance from Baruch College of the City University of New York and a BE in mechanical engineering from KLSGIT. His professional experience includes working with companies like Citibank and American Express in finance and risk management, which allows him to bring a unique perspective to analyzing businesses and offering solutions. He returned to Belgavi in 2005, and since then he's been finding a balance between his passion, which is social responsibility, education, mentorship to startups, and entrepreneurship. His strengths, yes, include financial analysis, governance, and he's putting his knowledge to practice in Belgaum through his consulting firm, Seneca. We also have a great all-rounder, Dr. Prakash Muguri. Please come on stage, sir, and join us on this panel. We should start reverse, I think. Dr. Muguri is an accomplished singer and is the founder of Energy Group of Companies. He's a TEDx speaker, a startup coach, a pro MMA athlete, and a globally recognized innovator with 7 national awards, 8 patents, and over 25 journal and conference papers to his credit. Educationists know the importance of this, sir. And I know it's very difficult to do all of this at once. He's the pioneer of industrial microwave technology in India, and he believes create in India to make in India. Several interesting facets of him. He's a professional martial artist with certification in Bruce Lee's JKD and a third-degree black belt in unarmed combat. He's represented India in World Championship of Full Contact MMA organized in Russia. Active faculty of Visionary Learning Community of India, that is VLCI, training SMEs, students, and staff on various flow concepts in manufacturing industries. So his tireless efforts in growing the technology companies in Energy Group has won him prestigious national awards like India's Top SME Innovator, India SME 100 Award, and India's Most Tech-Savvy Company. He's a living example that there's no limit to human potential indeed, truly a multi-dimensional personality. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is something where you are going to have a lot of takeaways because this is a panel discussion which is very unlike what you see on TV channels every day, where it's just churning. But today we are going to think something, share with you all, and then we are going to try and find some answers. So let me begin. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on this panel. Chetna has chosen me perhaps because I come with industry experience of 8 years and academic experience of 12 years and 2 years of being an entrepreneur. I became an entrepreneur at 45, in fact. So I've seen both sides of the table. And we often talk about the challenges between industry and the academia. There are many challenges, in fact, because as I told you, I've seen both the sides. And we are not here to find lasting solutions, but we are here to shed light what these challenges are and what can be done about it. What have we done? What have we thought about it? From an academician and a management perspective, I'd like to start with Raj sir. What do you feel are the challenges before the industry vis-a-vis the academia? Do they, are they on the same page?
They need to get on the same page for their mutual benefit. It will benefit industry also. It will benefit educational institutions also. But what Dr. Vidyashankar said and what Madam Chetna is attempting to do with Dattamsh, training the trainers, because the concepts in physics remain the same. Light is light, sound is sound.
True.
But the point is what you do with it, because so far, thanks to our colonial heritage, Macaulayan predicate, whatever it is, our exams were a test of your memory. And that was the marker of success. Whereas today, in today's world, where we are intersecting with the world, we are intersecting with a $20 trillion economy or even a $10 trillion economy soon. At that point, what you know is not as important as what you can do with what you know.
Right.
And that sparking that thinking, that change in mentality has to happen in our young minds who are going to go to industry. Industry wants them in that way, but also the pedagogical delivery, where we don't want a teacher standing and just having a one-way talk. It has to be a dialogue, it has to be a conversation, at the end of which the student believes that today I picked up these thoughts and this is what can be done with it. That is the change that needs to happen in the educational institutions, but also that needs to be married with a number of other components, such as maker labs, such as internships, such as hackathons. All of these need to become part of the ecology, active ecology of the educational system. That is what needs to happen.
Do you see a role as a management person in providing this ecosystem to the teachers?
It is in our interest to do that. As a management, I should make it happen. It is in my interest, because at the end of the day, the children who have walked into the portals of my educational institution that I'm part of, they have placed or they have invested their monies and their time on behalf of their children, and the children are investing their time. It is my job, meaning I'm not as an individual,
I
but as a
understand,
management,
yeah.
it is our job to make sure
Right.
that our teachers, the deliverers of the concepts, of the thoughts, of that entire ecology, have the training and the time. The time. Okay, that is very, very important. As a management person in an educational entity, it is my job to make sure that my teachers have the time to be able to deliver, to learn
Right.
first. Sometimes that learning might be unlearning.
Yes.
Unlearning, learning, and delivering what is needed so that the young minds sitting there go out to the world and succeed for themselves.
But when we look at the educators, they say, where is the time? We are so burdened with a lot of documentation. Am I right? Just by going through NAC or NBA, we create mountains of files, and you have your appraisals and you have forms to be filled and student syllabus to be completed. Where is the time?
Yeah, that's where all the stakeholders need to come together, especially the managements of these colleges and the kind of the people who, shall we say, I will use VTU as an example, the university system under which we operate. All of these people have to come together and kind of redesign, at least at the edges, if not at the center. Start from the edge, redesign it in such a way that more and more of the teacher's time is spent in doing what they are hired for.
Right.
It is a difficult task.
Right.
It is going to take some time, but that is where the journey needs to begin, with an acceptance that this is a problem for the benefit of our students that needs to be resolved quickly. Last point in this point is the journey to 5 trillion, 20 trillion, whatever it is. Our lives are only one.
Right.
If we fail now, especially in the colleges that are not the IITs of the world, we will be failing an entire generation of young minds.
Right.
And there will be some who will capture benefits of the 20 trillion, but then we will be consigning so many to the dustbin of that history.
Right.
That is the moral and practical challenge that we need to understand and incorporate into our actions.
Okay. I'll come back to you because you head the governing council of an autonomous institute where you have much freedom to design. I come to Dr. Prakash. You have worked with several startups where I think they are going to be very young people as well. Do you think they are equipped with the skills for a startup? Do you see a gap where they don't have the know-how of starting, or you feel they are equipped on their own?
No, definitely most startups are not equipped, but that doesn't deter them. They move ahead and they make mistakes, they learn, and the only thing that they see is whatever they want to achieve, they're just going ahead with all that they can do. But yes, that gap is now being addressed by a lot of ecosystems that are created where startups can get incubated or mentored
Right.
and network with people. And I think now we also have a mandate to have incubation centers within the institute.
Right.
And that I think is going to play a crucial role in these founders or wannabe founders or to be founders are going to be nurtured and given a glimpse of what it is to be, starting a company, whether it is through ideathons or mentoring sessions within the institute.
Right.
It's going to
Do they have the attitude and the aptitude? And most importantly, do they have the zeal for learning? Do you see that?
I don't think you can generalize anything like that, and you don't need to have all 120 students becoming entrepreneurs anyways.
Right.
You also need a very good skilled people to work and build those companies which few people will start. But I think the mindset, definitely, the environment is changing for sure. That is something that I can see when we were studying and what we see today. There is a lot more activity happening in institutes, although there is a long way to go. But both the managements and the teaching community, we see the environment to be provided for these startup ideas to flourish. And perhaps there is a lot of things to learn, both for institute, for management, to improve that and make it more dynamic and active. But it has begun. That's what I can
When
say.
you say there are a lot of things yet to be done, could you spell out some of your expectations from the academia?
Like the entire curriculum, when it is like today, I keep saying that students don't really depend on the traditional, so to say, teaching method for
Sources
acquiring
of learning,
information.
rather,
For
yeah.
them, it's not the only source of information. They get source of the information from multiple sources, and they are self-competent. They gather it. They learn it anyways. But I think what they really need is an active engagement of how can they apply that information to do something, to solve a problem. So if I can make a small recommendation, because sir is here, like I have seen in IIMs and even certain organizations or institutes abroad, where a lot of emphasis is given on students doing a self-reading of a given subject and coming to the class. And the class is not really meant for giving the same information, but rather discuss on that and deliberate on that concept, or try to engage in a conversation with the student where you force the student to think, how do I apply that knowledge? If that kind of a flavor can be introduced, it can change the way students
You
take
mean a
interest.
student-driven learning approach rather than a teacher-driven learning approach?
Yeah, and students coming with what questions they have or what they didn't understand or what they want to discuss more to get a deeper insight.
Right. We come to Dr. Rajaram Kudli, having had 30 plus years of experience and being an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, where I think what Dr. Mugri is saying really happens, because I don't know the culture at that time, but today's IITs and IIMs, every student has a startup dream, is what they say. But you have also been into research and consultancy. Do you see a gap between the academics and the industry so far, like from your time at IIT and today?
Yeah, the gap is certainly there, but when you get into the details, it is interesting as well as very intriguing. The gap always is not necessarily undesirable. Can you imagine a boy or a girl at the age of 21 when they pass out after 4 years, spending 4 years in any engineering college? Why should they be expected to jump into industry and solve industry problems? To me, that is unrealistic. It is not required. And look at what IITs do. Much later, I understood that IIT level education, we are talking of engineering, it is actually called analytic engineering. Every project, every subject, in every subject, assignments are supposed to be done with a computer program.
Okay.
And all masters and PhD theses are done only on computers, very little of practical work. If you look at, if you get into industry, any mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, people have to work with real things, not on computers. And what was 30 years ago, the mechanical engineering or electrical, electronic engineering basics remain same even today. But industrial practices have become more and more automated. Therefore, what should the students be taught in 4 years and 64 subjects? Unfortunate. I consider it unfortunate because I am continuously engaged with, precisely trying to bridge this gap from both sides. We surrendered. We as a nation, we surrendered to this thing called IT industry. It actually has killed virtually all other engineering except programming. We have gone through that. Not only that, the demand was so much that they just needed anybody who had some aptitude. They would come and take away all the toppers, the best of the students who would be very good in doing research or doing innovations and publication. They would just offer them a professor's salary for doing COBOL programming for Y2K. That went on. And I recall actually with a lot of sadness that at the 50th anniversary of India's independence, 97, Professor Abdul Kalam was heading DRDO, Professor Mashelkar was heading CSIR, what a dedicated life they had spent in building those institutions. They were literally in tears. They have spoken about it in public media, that this industry is taking away the best of their scientists. Now, how will they rebuild that? So these are the issues we are really hurting us. To expect a fresher to be able to jump into industry, no, it's not necessary. You don't do R&D and innovation every day on shop floor. That is done by very few people who are into research. That requires much more depth in analytical tools, in practical, the experimental verification, etc. They will have to spend lots of years in imbibing the discipline of research. So it is an unrealistic expectation. On the other hand, now currently what is going on? 20 years ago, started with 30, 40 years ago, it was the IT wave, and then 10 to 15, 20 years ago, it was the analytics wave, and now it is AI ML.
Right.
I was very sad to hear that they have gotten rid of a lot of basic subjects just to stuff more and more in programming. In fact, one of the top private universities who became autonomous universities in Bangalore, it is among the top, they have actually gotten rid of all other engineering. Only computer science and its namesake variants like information science, data science,
Right.
whatever. They are going to produce 1,000 students per year. And the only target they have is half of their students by next year, the passing out branch in 2024, they want half of their students to be getting 12 lakhs per annum salary package. That's all is the objective.
Right, sir. But when you're saying that the industry is taking the top talent, that is for the good of the nation as well. And to add to what you're saying about AI, ML replacing, several subjects being disposed to make way for the other things, I think things like Chat GPT and all, they are taking away a lot of mundane tasks. So you have to stay ahead of the curve. Don't you think so?
That's right. In fact, thanks for mentioning that. Just last week I was watching a TV program, national TV, debate on national TV. There were faculty from IIT and the other university, ecosystem, and then from industry. You can expect that 80% of this academia want to ban ChatGPT. And industry people are laughing at that, So such is the gap between
Right.
this and that.
Right.
And that's where this question came up. They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
See, I can imagine, because I started my career as a teacher in Belgaum, in KLS GIT. I was just mentioning that. I must say that I was just lucky. Even at that time, KLS GIT was the only A-grade college in Karnataka. Among all the private institutions, it was the only A-grade college. I didn't know what it meant, except by comparison. That is unfortunate.